Hey guys, welcome to A Mess Nonetheless. I'm Rachel.
I'm Melissa, and we are sisters. And hello, you guys. Welcome back.
Oh,
Hello?
is it me?
Are you there? I'm
Supposed
just
to
talking
go?
to myself.
We're super on top of it. By
Rachel
now,
went blank
hopefully
for a
you've
minute.
listened to the one about not needing to be perfect. Okay, we're going to do
Yep.
another tongue twister. It's been a while.
Okay,
It's
let's do it.
okay. Let's see if I can do it. She sells seashells by the seashore. How can I say that, but I can't say New York? How? She sells seashells by the seashore.
Now do
Can
it
you do it?
faster.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Oh, you are most impressive. Like,
The
I can't
Christmas
even.
miracle. A week early.
Okay, let me see if I can do it. She sells seashells at the seashore. Did I
By
do
the
it?
seashore.
Oh, by
I
the
don't know.
seashore. I got the
I
by
don't
in
know
the
if it would
end.
make a difference. What? That wasn't even any fun. We didn't even tongue twist around
No,
it.
she sells seashells by the seashore.
You said
She's
seashells.
She sells seashells by the seashore. Did I
Okay,
do it?
people.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
did it. Can you guys do it? I guess
We're
both.
more impressive than we realized, so that wasn't that exciting.
I guess. Oh my goodness. Who even knew that we could do something so amazing?
I know.
Our standards
All
are
right.
very low for ourselves.
We can say a tongue twister.
Exactly.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
hello. Christmas is coming up. Super excited. I decorated in the middle of November, and my family has been very happy with me because they love when my house is decorated for Christmas. You
We did
decorated
too.
early too.
We did. Yeah. It was because I went to Minnesota for Thanksgiving and I wanted to,
Mhm.
it's tiring traveling, right? I'm traveling by
Mhm.
myself, or I traveled by myself with the 4 kids, and it's tiring. And I just wanted to come home and be like, everything's done.
Yeah.
And not be like, and now I'm
And now I have to do
exhausted.
a big
I have
project.
laundry
Yes.
and I have to decorate. So
Yes.
it was
No,
good. I'm
laundry
glad
and
we did that.
decorating is a lot.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I've liked it too. And in Minnesota, it started snowing literally the day I started decorating. So it felt just right. I don't know how
Yeah.
it feels right when it's 80 degrees and sunny, but
Well, and
whatever.
in Arizona, it's been in the 40s or like
Oh,
40, 42 in the mornings. It doesn't really warm up until like 11. And by then it's like 60, 65. It's
okay. So it's not
unseasonably
80
cold
degrees.
right
All
now.
right. Yeah.
So we're all in like sweaters and winter gear, and we're all like, it feels like Christmas, even though it's
Yeah.
sunny and green.
Yeah. And no snow. And it gets 60.
Waking up every morning and being like, it's cold, and going in
That makes sense.
by like 6 p.m., it's like you can't sit outside without a blanket, like a fire. It's
Sure.
cold. So
That makes sense. All right.
all
I'll
right,
give
which
it to you.
do we
All right.
want?
So what are we talking about today? Today we're going to talk about rest.
Yeah, when you don't get any rest, specifically.
Yes. Well, when you don't get rest, lots of bad things happen.
Correct.
So I actually am not good at letting myself rest naturally. That is not something I do easily. I'm really good at having grace for everyone else who I think needs to rest, but assuming I should just keep going all the time.
Yeah.
And I have I mean, for a lot of years I had a lot on my plate. I have a big family. I'm a photographer by trade. I was in network marketing for almost a decade, and I worked it very regularly. Like, it was
Yeah.
a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have always volunteered to some extent, either with church or whether it's women's ministry or youth group or Sunday mornings or Young Life. I've been a Young Life leader on and off over the years. I even worked part-time for Young Life not that long ago. And then of course my kids, they have a lot, just life is happening and they have things going on. And so I was involved in a lot of things and kind of just going all the time. And for a lot of those years, Bill was gone most of the time. So I did a lot of it by myself. And I was terrible at letting myself rest. And what has actually happened is my body has kind of started to attack itself through, I've had like significant adrenal failure, basically, is what has happened over the last couple of years. Hold on. Sorry, I have a little cough. And I have been, my body was just shutting down for about a year and a half. It's like I just kept getting more and more sick, but we couldn't really figure out why. It took a long time to realize it's actually a hormone issue.
Yeah.
And I was forced into basically resting kind of all the time. And so what that has looked like is I have literally walked away from almost every commitment I have because I wasn't even able to really take care of my family.
She moved out of the house so she didn't have to deal with those kids.
I did. I moved out for 2 weeks. Do you remember that?
Right.
Like, yeah, I actually did.
I was joking. Like, obviously, she
I
didn't
know.
walk away from her commitment of her children and her husband. But you're right. You went to mom and dad's.
Yeah. So I got COVID, like the very first round of COVID that came through, and
really bad round.
Yep, the really bad round. And we didn't get super sick during the time. Like, I mean, we didn't feel great,
Yeah.
but it wasn't bad. But it
Yeah.
totally tanked me after. Like, I got long haulers, or long COVID, some people call it. I actually ended up doing a bunch of physical therapy, and my physical therapist said, you have got to get away from your family for at least 2 weeks and not do anything. She's like, your body, you can't bully your way through this. And this was before I realized all the hormone stuff that was going on. So I already had some hormone stuff going on. My adrenals were tanking, and then COVID just kind of threw everything over the cliff. And so I left my house for 2 weeks. I went to my mom's for a week and Rachel's for a week, and they didn't let me do anything. And she said, you have to like jumpstart rest. And so then when I came back home, I had to be, I have felt so lazy so much of the time because I've just been very still. I get up and make my kids breakfast before school, and I almost always go back to bed afterwards if I don't have to keep moving, because I don't work full time out of the house. I serve 1 or 2 nights a week at a little restaurant right in my town. It's perfect. It gets me out of the house, makes a little bit of money, but it's not exhausting on me at all. And that's about it. I'm not volunteering in any way. So the reason I'm saying this is don't let yourself ever get to the place where you're forced to rest by getting rid of almost everything that you love out of your life. You have a say over that. And if you're thinking, but I don't have time to rest, I'm going to tell you that is not true. We always have time for the things that are important. I mean, always. It's like when we say we don't have time to eat healthy, or we don't have time to work out, like, does it take some work?
Other things have taken priority or precedence.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And so sorry, my throat is super dry today, so excuse
me. And I'll just cough too.
I thought maybe Rachel would fill in
at the same time.
We're on the same cough schedule. Anyways, and so what that means is that you look at your day and be like, sometimes you have to schedule in rest. Does that mean you go to bed early? Sometimes rest isn't necessarily sleep. Sometimes rest is just sitting still. In the summer, I love to rest by floating in my pool. That is by far one of my favorite ways to rest. And in the fall or on the cooler days in the summer, I love resting by laying in a hammock, and maybe I listen to a book, maybe I listen to worship music, maybe I listen to a podcast, maybe I just lay in silence and listen to the breeze, and so it's not always about sleeping. Sometimes I do fall asleep in those places, but it's about stopping. It's about being still. It's about quieting your mind. It's about quieting your body. Which means sitting on the couch and scrolling through Instagram or Facebook really isn't rest, because that is not quieting your mind and your body. In fact, it's probably amping up your mind, especially with the world we live in and all the chaos of it and the disagreements between everyone. And sometimes rest means getting off of social media for a certain amount of time. And so when I say, when we're talking about not getting enough rest, I really want to help clarify what rest is. So what I want you to do is just take a second and think through, what are the things that make you feel chaotic? Is it running kids? Do you have to run kids to and from places all day long? And can they maybe step back from some of the things that they're in? Which, yes, they can. Kids can always take a break. It's not going to, most of our kids are not going to be professional athletes. So taking a break from a season of a sport, or for
arranging more carpool.
That's what I was going to say. But if you're not, if you're like, I don't want to take them out of it, or it's really good for their mental state, which I totally get all of that, then line someone up to help. Like, you bring kids and they bring kids home. Like and if you're like, oh, I don't know anybody on their team or in their sport or in their people, get to know people. Exactly. And it can be as simple as, hey, like, ask your kids, who do you really connect with that you do drama with, or you do baseball with, or you swim with? And then go and introduce yourself to their mom, and then say, my kid loves your kid. Is there any way we could maybe line up carpooling? Or obviously, depending on the town you live in, it might be too far away. So someone who lives close, those kind of things. And asking for help is not bad. It is a good thing. We act sometimes like we have to do everything on our own, and that we can't ask for help. And that's a pride thing, where you talk a lot about pride, and asking for help is 100% okay. And so the things that cause chaos, like like I said, social media can cause chaos in our mind.
Yep.
Do you leave the TV on in your house all the time? I know people who sometimes just always have the TV on in the background.
Mhm.
I don't do that because that feels chaotic in my brain.
Right.
I will sit down and watch a show because I do like
Yep.
TV and movies. It's not, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with it. I just can't have it on all the time. But I
Mhm.
might have worship music on in the background because
Mhm.
that is good for my mind. My son, my oldest son, doesn't like it when I'm playing music. When he works overnights, when he comes home in the morning, and is eating breakfast, he often is like, "Can we turn the music off?" He's like, "It just feels too much in my
Yeah.
brain," and I'm like, "Well, sure, we can do that." And so
If that's what
just
he needs.
knowing, yeah, knowing what causes chaos helps us know where we need to
Yeah.
eliminate, which will help promote rest. Were
Well,
you gonna
and
say something?
what's interesting for me is that, so if I'm really tired, let's say at like 2 o'clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it through this day. Taking a nap at two
Mm-hmm.
o'clock is really not a good idea for me. I wake
Mm-hmm.
up, feel drunk, I feel groggy, I feel crabby, I feel worse. And then sometimes I can't sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
So then the problem starts over. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, when I'm really tired, I just have to like rest in a different way. Like I'll go for a
Mm-hmm.
walk and listen to
Yeah.
worship music.
Yeah.
It's that gives me kind of the pick me up that I need to get. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't do this every day, but there are days when I do this, and it's like it's a mental rest for me. I got out
Yeah.
of my house. I got
Yeah.
out of the never ending pile of laundry that's staring at me, or the
Yeah.
counter that needs to be wiped off for the 40th time today.
Yeah.
The questions the kids ask me, and I just say, I'm going to go for a walk
Yeah.
and listen to music. And that is restful to me. It's very, very restful to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes there was a season in my life where I'm trying to remember, we were moving. We were leaving Wisconsin. We were packing up, and I spent a lot of time homeschooling my kids and packing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent every single day, I think at least 5 to 6 days a week, I put my foot up. We had our feet up. We had a couch in our bedroom. My bedroom was beautiful. All this natural light coming in. And I had the couch faced like the window, and we had 5 acres. And it was just gorgeous. My neighbor's horses were behind us. And so I would put my feet up every day on that couch and watch at least one or two shows
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of the day. And for a little while, I felt guilty and lazy because,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I wouldn't let my kids have screens then. But I was like, I'm going to be packing later tonight.
Yeah.
And this is when I want to rest. This is,
Yeah.
and maybe a show is not restful to some people, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
it just turned my mind off to all the
Yep.
packing. And I'm already spending time in the word and stuff. So it's not like I'm choosing that over time with God. I mean, I
Right.
guess in theory, I could spend more time with God, but the point is that for me, that was a very restful thing that I did every single day. And I
Yep.
did not, after a couple days of feeling guilty, I was like, no, this is good for me. And my kids can
Yes.
go and play, and I don't need to hear them. We had multiple levels, or I'd send them
Yeah.
outside. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was very restful for me.
Yeah. For some reason, we have this mindset that rest or being still when other things can be done,
Right.
we feel guilty about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the pot calling the kettle black because that is something I have struggled with
Yep.
most of my adult life. When I remember when my kids were little and Bill was gone, I would without fail every like 6 or 7 days, I would crash. I would just hit a
Yep.
wall and I couldn't do anything. And I would feel humiliated about it. I would feel so
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed. I couldn't get out of my pajamas. I only got out of my bed because my kids needed me to. Otherwise, I probably laid on the couch. And
Mm-hmm.
we had a little tiny house with a basement where all most of their toys were in the basement, and there was a door to it. So we would go down there, and I would lay on the couch and watch TV, and they would play all day long, and that was it. Like I would barely make food and we would eat sandwiches and I would feel so bad. And I look back and I think, oh, if I could just go back to that girl and say, take the day. If you're
This is
crashed
what you
today,
need.
take the
Mm-hmm.
day. Like what to all the things you need to do are going to be there tomorrow, whether
Mm-hmm.
you do them today or not. So
Yep.
why in the world does it matter? So
When
now,
kids were little, I called that a personal day. I'm taking a
yeah,
personal day. I was home, stay at home mom.
yeah, exactly.
Unless you're
But you
leaving the
still
house,
need
there's no
it.
such thing. But I was like, I'm having a personal day. And it was
Yep.
like, I don't care how much screen time, or if they just
Yep.
crawl in and out of my bed, I'm going to sit in my bed all day long and watch a
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
The bare minimum.
Yeah. And now I give myself that grace and I do it with like yesterday. I've done a lot this week
You do it
and
proactively now.
now I like I literally don't plan things for certain days of maybe not every week, but every other week, I for sure give myself a day where I purposely stay in bed
Right.
or lay on my couch and
Mm-hmm.
binge watch a show or watch movies
Mm-hmm.
or take naps. I don't whatever I want to do.
Yeah. When I was
Because
homeschooling all my kids, we would do like a day where I wanted to have like a family movie, but we would watch The Chosen.
mm-hmm,
So I would be like, we can do two things. You can do school, or we can watch The Chosen all day. Because
mm-hmm,
I knew if I said we're going to watch a family movie, they'd all fight and argue. And can't we
yeah,
watch this? But if I was like, here's your options, we're watching The
Yeah.
Chosen.
Yeah.
And we would never get through more than like 2 episodes because they're kind of long. And then it'd be like lunchtime, but I'd be like, we're just going to skip school today. But then we just sit around and we watch The Chosen, which was a great show. And it's like,
Yeah.
that was our rest day right in the middle of a school week. We did it, I don't know, once a semester, maybe twice, maybe
I
4
love
times
that.
a year. I know,
Mhm.
I loved it too. I miss those. I miss those days.
Excuse me. Well, and if you are sitting here thinking, but I think, rest like that is lazy, I'm going to tell you that I think rest like that is biblical.
Exactly.
And I mean, there is lots of verses that I mean, Jesus would go off and rest. He literally
Mhm.
set the example of going
Mhm.
off to rest. And
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, in Mark 6, there's a scenario where this was when they were feeding the 5,000 people. So that, if you can remember that story. And
mhm,
he says to his disciples, come away with me to a desolate, no, sorry, come away, yeah, to a
by
desolate place and
yourselves.
rest a while.
Yeah.
Because they had people coming and going so many that they couldn't even like eat. And
Yeah.
that's what he says, like, come away to a desolate place so we can rest a while. Like he very
Yep.
clearly, and he did that all throughout the gospels. Like
Yeah.
there's times we need to go and rest. He was napping all the time. I love
I
that.
know.
Jesus. He
I
was
know.
napping.
Yeah. Jesus is our hero in so many ways. And at the top of that list, he napped.
I know, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that.
And if you have a spouse who does not encourage your rest or support your rest, I hear that because I do know some people where they're like, well,
Right.
my spouse doesn't think it's okay or whatever. Um, I can't tell you to go against what I'm not saying be deceitful and hide and
Right.
anything like that. But if you have if your spouse can't handle seeing you rest, then rest when
Mhm.
they're not around because you
Right.
still need to rest. It doesn't
Right.
matter if someone supports it or not. I mean, if you knew that working out, I mean, working out is so good for all of us, right? But if you're
Mhm.
like, I need to do it for my mental state, which I
Mhm.
think a lot of women work out as much for our minds as we do for
Right.
our bodies,
Right.
and your spouse didn't support it, I believe you would still figure out a way to do it because
Right.
it makes you feel and operate so much better. And burnout is a real thing,
Yep.
especially in this day and age. And
Yep.
I am in the middle of healing from significant burnout. And
Right.
I wish that I would have understood what resting better before and
Mhm.
maybe not saying I have good boundaries about saying yes to things and no to things. So it's not like I just say yes to everything that comes my way. But I also, when I commit to something, I have a hard time walking away from it.
Right. Mhm.
And
I'm the
so
same way.
yeah. So if you, and I know a lot of women struggle to not say yes to everything because they're like, well, if I can do
Mhm.
it, I should. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't
Right. Go
believe
back
that.
and listen to our boundaries episode.
Yes, exactly.
Again.
And yeah, again. And it's really important to find where you can make a difference and say yes to that, but where and if you've so I actually helped create I started a network marketing company about 2 years ago. I got to be at the very beginning of it. I got to be at the reveal of it before it was a thing. There was about 20 of us that were asked to help, launch this thing, and it was such a gift, such an honor. And I had to walk away from that, at least for this time in my life, because it was taking so much from me that I had so little to give my family. That was
Mhm.
really, really hard to walk away from. But I was just honest and I talked it through with them. They had my back. They wanted to see me get healthy and heal because they
Mhm.
could see that I wasn't doing great. And so nothing is forever. And
Right.
it is okay to walk away from things, even big, exciting, important things that you committed to if
Right.
suddenly it doesn't work with with where you're at in your life anymore.
Right. Well, we had an experience. So before COVID hit, my kids were super involved in a lot of things. And I mean, we didn't even have like one night a week
Hmm.
where we didn't have something going on, except not even Fridays, like literally Sunday through
Yeah,
Friday.
that's a
And
lot.
and my husband worked a lot of evenings. And so I was running all the time and I was having babies and breastfeeding. And it was too much. And our kids didn't bus to school. They couldn't. It wasn't an option. So I did carpool, but then I had ones in preschool and then I had ones at
Hmm.
4K and then I had ones in daycare. And it was like, and then the
Everywhere.
elementary school, it was too much. And I remember thinking, I wish I could just take a year with no
Hmm.
activities without it affecting my kids because I was like, oh, I don't want to hold them back, not from school, of
Hmm.
course, but like
Sports and
swim and dance, sports, yeah,
yeah,
things like that, piano. And our mom said, why don't you just do that? And I was like, oh, I wouldn't do that to my
yeah,
kids. Well, now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, the oldest was like in 5th grade. Like,
right,
seriously, I couldn't have done it. Like,
right.
and then COVID hit, and all of a sudden it was like, COVID was awful for the world, of course, and the people who lost
Hmm.
loved ones. But like for my family, that season was such a gift. And now we came out of that with very much intentionality of what are we signing up to and when are we signing up
Yep.
and how much do we want to run? And like, I have multiple nights a week where, even though I have kids in sports, I have all 4 of them are in sports, but we have multiple nights a week where we have nothing going on. Or we've arranged some carpool.
Yes.
So there's multiple nights, but we have nights at home where everyone's home.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And that's so important. It's important for you and it's important for your kids because we are teaching them what life should look like as they get older. And if we teach them that you need to be busy from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed, even at the detriment of your sleep and your exhaustion and your mind,
emotional well-being and mental.
Right. Yeah. Right. What are we actually teaching them?
Exactly.
I think it's so important to teach our kids to rest. That is something that I have been proactive in much more. What's funny is when my kids aren't doing great, like when they're emotional or they're not feeling good, I always say, you need to rest. So I'm really good at promoting rest for them.
Have a snack and go take a nap.
Exactly. But I wasn't always great at being an example of it. And so obviously I'm changing that. And
something for us, like our boys are in year-round swim. And so we took a break when we went to Minnesota for the summer, or we went for 4 weeks. And it was like, well, it's year round, so we could just jump back into it, or we could just take a break and not jump back into it. And it was my intention that we would actually wait till after the new year. Cause I'm like, they can do swim from January. It's like seasonal. It's like year round, but it's like, well, you can do the fall swim and the summer swim and whatever. And I was going to wait till after the new year and just do like January through the end of June. My husband, we had a misunderstanding and a subsequent fight that followed.
And they've been swimming.
The week I had shoulder surgery,
of course,
even though he travels 2 weeks out of the month. So we're working through that. But I'm like, well, once in it, we don't want to pull them out. But we had to take a break. Then it's like extend the break.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's no chance. We are not signing back up in September. I'm like, we are through that. Like, if you're going to take a break for July, then we might as well just extend the break, because then they can just get back into it and then start where they are. And so
another thing I did that I needed to do for rest's sake was so my boys race BMX and they're all on the same schedule. Thankfully, they all practice at the same time, they all race at the same time, but we have big state races almost every weekend, and they're
in the summer.
Yep. All throughout the summer. They're often 2 hours away. So, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and we can be there easily for 8 hours. I mean, or 6 hours. It's a long day. And I had a summer where I just had to talk with them and say, I will be at hardly any of your races this year, especially the big ones. I'll try to come to some of the closer ones that are shorter, because my body can't handle it right now. Like it was taking so much energy from me that I had nothing left to give the rest of the week, really. And they all were like, I mean, they were disappointed because of course they like when I'm there and I record their races and cheer them on and whatever, but they understood. And I just had to have that conversation. And it could have felt like I was totally disappointing them, but already it's come and gone. And this past year I was able to be at almost all their races. And sometimes we have to step back from things, even from our kids, and okay, you're not disappointing them. Again, you're just teaching them healthy boundaries about how to take care of yourself. You're not making, because I think sometimes it's easy to be like, well, I can't possibly do that because it will hurt my kids. Our kids, when we are there for them, when we show up for them, they are very durable. They can handle hearing no. It's when we neglect them that's the issue. But if you're not neglecting your kids, they can handle it because they love you and they don't want to see you getting, if you explain your situation, they're going to understand.
Well, yeah. Cause our boys had a swim meet recently and we somehow misunderstood, and we've never had a swim meet like this where there was like a morning session and then an afternoon, but the afternoon one started at 4 and went till 8. I was like, that's called evening, people.
Yes.
So we thought it was going to be done by like 3:00. And so there was like this break. There was like a 3-hour break in the middle of it. I was like, this is the dumbest system ever.
Long,
just be there and get it done with. But either way, we left. And then our older son, it was his birthday like party with his friends. And so I didn't go back with our younger son. And he was like, I really wanted you to see my, I am. And I was like, I know, I really want to see it, but I have to, like, it's important for me to stay and be. And honestly, our dad took the boys to the movies. So like, I really could have gone, but our 4-year-old would have absolutely lost it. And it would have been unenjoyable for everyone. And we would have been getting home at 8:30 at night. And so it's just like, you know what, buddy, dad is going to go and dad is enough. And I will watch the video. And we watched it like 5 times. I was so proud of him. But it's like, there are just times when you're like, this is not in the best interest of our family for parents to be at this, because be with these other kids or whatever.
And I should clarify, those races that I was not at, Bill was at all of them. So my kids weren't there alone.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes it just needs to be one parent, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think that rest sometimes we need to have boundaries. I know we need to have boundaries with other people in our life who don't need the same kind of rest as us or the same amount as rest as us. I come from, or my husband comes from a family where they don't nap at all. Like even when they were pregnant, the women didn't nap. And I don't
What is that
understand that. I slept 15 hours a
magic?
day in my first trimester, every single pregnancy. I slept with my toddlers just whining over me because I just need to
She would
sleep.
sleep in the middle of family get-togethers right on
I
the couch.
would. I napped all the time my first trimester and I was tired the rest of my pregnancy and they just weren't like me. And
Yeah.
I just had to say, I know that you guys don't need naps. I just need you to respect and understand that, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to nap. We're going to be together for a whole weekend. I'm going to have to nap
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to bed early. And I don't want to be made to feel bad about it because
Yeah.
people don't mean to make you feel bad. A lot of times they're just like teasing, but it's like, listen, I just can't control this. If I could, I would stay up and have fun with you, but I cannot. And for a long time, his family, my husband's family would put their kids, put their kids to bed like 10 p.m. And our kids were young and we were going every single night of the week and they weren't really involved in things yet because their kids were younger than ours and they hadn't really gotten to that place. And we were like, we can't trash them on the weekends because the weekdays are so
They're not
full.
gonna make it through the week. Yeah.
We were like, they have to go to bed by 8:30. We can't be putting them to bed at 10 or 11 at night. And they would be like, let your kids stay up. And we were like, you don't understand. Well, now their life looks different. It's when COVID came in, then we started letting them stay up till 10 or 11 because it was like, we're not running around like crazy. So it really is just like what works for you and your family and doesn't need to be what other people think are best for you. And I likewise, I no longer want to be running every night of the week, but we have family and friends that do. And it's like, that's not for me to judge. Like, they will figure out what rest looks like for them or they won't. And it's not,
or they just don't need the same amount of rest. I mean, you're right with that. I mean, I need way more sleep than almost anybody in my life. Mornings, I do not love mornings. They have never been my friend, even if I get to bed at a good time. And I used to feel bad about it, like guilty for some reason that I wasn't a morning person. I think as a mom, you feel like you're supposed to go to bed early and get up
morning
early.
people.
Huh?
When your little children are morning people, you feel like you're failing by not being able to get up at the same time
Exactly.
as them.
And I would get up. I just would get up and crawl to the couch, lay on
Exactly.
the couch. And now, like, I can stay up late. Late is easy for me to stay up. My teenagers are up late all the time. I have the best conversations with my teenagers late into the evening.
And I'm like, it's 8:30. I can't hang.
Exactly. Like my brain is turned off. And so I am, like I said, I get up and make them breakfast, get them off to school, and I usually go back to bed for a little bit. And I decided I'm not going to feel bad about that. I have a life that allows that right now, so I'm grateful for it instead of feeling bad or guilty. Like, and who am I hurting? I'm not hurting anyone. And if I'm functioning as a mom better, because then I can stay up later with my kids when they need me. It's okay because I'm resting and it's okay.
So there's kind of like a couple things we're talking about here. One is recognizing where can you make room. Well, I think one is knowing rest is biblical.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's so many other verses we could have talked about, times that Jesus rested, but also just, in Matthew, Jesus says, come to me, all who are heavy,
weary,
like I will give you rest.
Yes.
And then
to give us rest.
Exactly. And Exodus, God says, my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. He was talking to the Israelites when they were literally wandering the desert. Like, but he was saying, I'm going to give you rest. In peace, in Psalms, in peace, I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety and rest. And so there's so many things that we could have talked about, but it's like, one, it's biblical, recognizing that. Two,
and after God created the world, he rested.
Yeah. In fact, I heard a sermon once my pastor did. And it was so good. And he was like, do we really think that God rested or was he setting the example for us?
Yeah.
Like, no,
because I'm sure he did not need to rest.
He doesn't need to rest. He's setting the example for us. He's showing us what he wants for us.
Yep.
And so one is it's biblical. Two is recognizing where you can make room for it, where you can schedule it. Stop being a martyr about it. Like, and stop feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
And I guess the fourth one might be putting boundaries up in some relationships where you might need to have it. Yeah, it kind of seems like those are the four main things that I guess we were covering here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have a challenge for people?
I would imagine most of the people listening have not mastered the art of resting just because I know most women.
Exactly. We've met a lot of women.
We know a lot of women. And I don't know any women who are great naturally at resting, unless if they've been forced into a place too. And I want to encourage you to just look and make a plan for the next week to rest at least. I don't know if it's 1 day a week. I don't know if it's 1 hour a week. I don't know if it's 10 minutes a day. You need to figure out what that looks like for you and what you need. And then put it into action.
Yeah. I like
be
that.
my challenge.
I like that a lot.
All right.
We'd like to hear from you guys. We'd like to
Mhm.
hear what you're thinking about these episodes, how they've impacted you. If you have extra questions or thoughts,
Yep.
you can email us at msnonetheless@gmail.com, or we have a website, msnonetheless.com. Of course, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook.
And
If you're
please
listening,
share.
yeah, if it's
Yeah.
helpful, these episodes, share them with your friends, share them on Facebook. We would love if you would go on to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and rate us and review us. And the reason is because the more our podcast is rated and reviews, the more we pop up in people's news feeds. It's that little algorithm thing.
So they can find us.
So, yeah, you don't even have to write something. You can just give us a star. I mean,
5,
ideally more
preferably.
than 1 star.
I'm asking
Please
for
don't
5.
give us 1 star. If you only want to give us a star, just mind your business.
Yes. Just move it along. If you're only giving us 1, just keep on
Nothing
going.
to see here. More than a star would be ideal. Like like all the stars.
All the stars. All right. Well, you guys have a great week. Have a good Christmas. And we will be back after. We're going to take a break. We're not, we're going to enjoy our family
That's right.
through Christmas, through the New Year's. So we will be back after New Year's. So we'll see you in 2023.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.